All right, so we're gonna go over a little tutorial for the return to sport dashboard here. So we have our dashboard here. We have our athletes. We have our test section, normative data, and our calculator. And then here we have our individual profile. So name, email, subscription. We can manage the subscription from this page here. And then for any sort of help, here's going to be where you can click on to see various aspects of the dashboard from like a Word doc standpoint. And then if you have any questions, need help, feel free to reach out to us at this email address down here. All right, so let's add our first athlete. So we're going to put in first name, last name, date of birth, select what sex they are, input their height, weight, sport they play, whatever sort of injury or surgery they're coming in for, the affected side, whether what their status is active, cleared, or on hold. And then we can put in either the injury date or the surgery date. In this case, we'll say this individual is post-surgery, so we're going to put in their surgery date. And then if you have any sort of relevant notes, it could be next follow-up, it could be any sort of goals they have in mind, it could be in regards to their playing schedule, upcoming tournaments and games. You can input that information here. I'm going to hit save athlete. And let's add a couple more athletes in here. All right, so we have our different athletes here. If I want to click on one of their individual profiles, I can very easily do that. So I can see this individual's, I can see this athlete, or I can see this athlete here. All right, now let's add some tests in. So I'm going to stick to the knee here. So I'm going to create test. So first one's going to be, let's go isometric, quad, strength. This is going to be automatically checked if you just want to compare one side or not compare, sorry, side to side, you can. But we're going to keep the compare affected versus unaffected on. In the category here, we have 10 different things. So strength, power, so like our kind of movement jump, speed, this could be like a 10-yard fly, reactivity, looking like at our drop jumps, balance, could be like a Y balance, agility could be like a 5-10-5, a 5-0-5. Energy systems could be 300-yard shuttle, could be wind gate, could be max aerobic speed testing. Functional could be, it could be squatting. It could be something like maybe FMS related. Mobility would be range of motion. Swelling could be sweep test, and other could kind of fall into other different things. For this one here, we are going to calculate torque. So I'm going to also check that box too. And my metric name is going to be PT to body weight, essentially peak torque to body weight. And my unit is going to be Newton meters per kilogram. All right, so that's going to be first test. Next one, let's just go standing isometric bar flex strength. So keep that in the strength. Also, we'll get to compare LSI here. I'm just going to put strength and put pounds. And I'll hit save. All right, so I'm also going to make a secondary test of this. I also want to calculate strength of body weight here. So I'm going to hit this little sign here. It's going to be the duplicate button here. So it's going to make an exact duplicate of that test. I'm going to hit, or just backspace the copy here. I'll just make a note that it is strength body weight. And then what's going to happen here is I am going to deselect this button and I'm going to select compare affected versus unaffected with body weight ratios. We're not going to get an LSI for this, but I'm going to check this. The main thing here is that the unit here has to say pounds. If not, it won't trigger the body weight calculation. So when I hit save test, nothing else is going to appear different. But when we actually go to use this test for this individual, then we're going to see that strength to body weight ratio pop up. Let's also add in double leg CMJ, put that for power. We're not going to compare LSI here. And just go propulsive and braking impulse asymmetry. So here, I can very easily select which metric I want to be my primary metric. If I want to be braking impulse asymmetry, I could. I'm going to elect it to keep jump height. And I'm going to save this test here. So we're going to see it's going to be power here, and there's no LSI there. Let's get one more here. Get drop jump here. Same thing, no side-to-side comparison. And let's just go RSI. Deflection. The extension. I will say for certain range of motions, I will not use the LSI button here, primarily because knee extension or hyperextension range of motion could be anywhere from, let's say, 5 to 10 degrees. And let's say let's say the non-op side has 5 degrees and the op side has 3 degrees of hyperextension. It's going to show a 60% LSI, which is not probably truly as accurate in terms of range of motion. So typically for some of those smaller ranges of motion, especially if we expect to have some hyperextension, I'll typically deselect the LSI button there. All right, so let's go with this athlete here. So I'm going to go to sessions here. I'm going to add session here. So I'm going to add in the first date here. Let's say it is 2 months post-op for this individual. So here, all right, so we're going to start adding in some tests here. So first one is going to be our quad strength here. Just make sure your date is correct here. All right, so it should automatically input their body weight. If their body weight changes, just adjust accordingly. Let's say 35 is the centimeters there. If you wanted to adjust this to kilograms, you could very easily adjust that as well. Just make sure that you adjust their body weight accordingly. We will stick to pounds. And let's say he gets 200 on his unaffected side. And let's say he gets 50 at this point here. All right, let's also add in some knee flexion range of motion. So let's go a month post-op here. Big thing is to make sure that when you add the test, that the test and then make sure the test date here actually align. So we got 145 here. Let's say at this point we are 120. All right, we'll add a knee flexion here. Let's say 40, 45. So we're going to see this automatically update. If I want to take a look at knee flexion range of motion, I can go to this progress button here, select the test, and then I can see bar chart here for knee flexion range of motion. And if I also wanted to visualize it from a line standpoint, I could. And we're also going to get comparison from last session or the last test. All right, let's keep adding in some more tests here. So let's go about 3 months out. And let's add in quad test here. Now let's say we're up to 100 here. And let's add in one more test session here. Let's go 10. And add in one more quad. All right, so now we start to visualize our quad test here. So our isometric quad strength, we'll see this. We can see that over time, that unaffected side is staying similar. And we can see that surgical side slowly started to creep up there. And then we can also visualize that from a line chart as well. Let's go back to sessions here. So let's go to here. We're going to add in our CMJ here. Inches and 20. Got one more month out here. Add in quad. Let's add in kind of a jump. All right. See quad strength is trending upwards here. We get an overview of where we're at for our double leg counter movement jump. And then same thing, I can go back in and see quad data here as we trend upwards. And then as we go to our double leg CMJ, so I can see jump height here, but if I also want to visualize some of my secondary metrics too, I can take a look at braking impulse as well as propulsive impulse there and get a line graph for which direction those are trending as well. And we can see here that we have a 25% reduction in braking impulse asymmetry, which would be good. And then jump height is going up. So that's going to be good. 16.7% increase there. So if I wanted to, I can also set goals for this individual. So let's add a goal here. Go isometric quad strength. So if I want to add in an LSI, I can. Let's set this for 90%. Repeat torque to body weight. Our target goal for our individual, let's say, is going to be a 3.5 in this case. I'm not going to set a target date here. We could if we want to. I will create the goal. And then this is going to pop up in a couple different places. So we can see here that overall we're about 93% of our target goal here. So have made some decent progress here in terms of our 90%. We're 87.5% for LSI, looking for that 90. And we're at 3.1 for our peak torque body weight, looking for that 3.5. If I want to go and edit that goal, I can very easily edit that. I can change LSI. So let's say I want 95%. I can update that goal, and that will reflect that change there. Back to 90% here. So let's add in one more testing session. Quad strength. So I'm going to see our goal is achieved here. And when we go to goals here, that's going to be green there. Mention that the goal is achieved there. I can also see the results from our test two. So this is just the results page. I can take a look and see where we're at in terms of some of our numbers and benchmarks. Now, if I wanted to, I can go in and edit some of those numbers. So for this double leg CMJ, if I actually had an error, I can go back in, edit some of those numbers. Same thing, if I accidentally inputted some of the quad strength numbers in wrong, I could very easily go in and update some of those numbers there. All right, from here, I want to go back to patients here. Click Justin Jefferson. All right, so now we're kind of on this dashboard of this individual here. And we have a couple different buttons here. I'm going to hit View Report. From this, I'm going to hit Preview Report. And a document is going to pop up here. So it's going to be their name, potentially how far they are out post-surgery, if applicable, sport, injury, etc. And then we're going to get this sort of composite LSI here. So based on sort of the different tests that we've ran them through, in this case, we have quad strength, we have CMJ, we have knee flexion, range of motion. Anything that we input test-wise that is LSI related is going to feed into this here. So if we're doing like single leg counter movement jump, looking at CMJ jump height, if we're looking at single leg drop jump, comparing RSI side to side, those numbers are going to reflect the symmetry here. And so ideally we want to get this average symmetry or composite symmetry as close to 100% as possible. I think this can be a good number to look at in terms of overall from a strength, power, speed standpoint, how individuals are comparing overall from a global standpoint to that contralateral limb there. Nice thing about this, you easily save this as a PDF, print it out, send it to patients, send it to docs for follow-ups. It can be very helpful to show progress for the surgeons. All right, next is our normative data here. So I can very easily start to track different tests here. We really only have our few different tests that we've done in a couple different sports, but we can already see some of our age ranges here in terms of football, male, age 25 to 30, and we can start to see some of our average values here for those individuals. So let's go isometric quad strength. Let's go football. We don't have too many injuries here, so be an ACL. And overall, between the different tests that we've done, note looking at the entire time period, our average LSI is 67.5. You very easily start to switch this up in terms of our time points. Let's go 7 to 12. We have the 25% symmetry there, 13 to 24, looking at 70.8. If we bump that out even further, now looking at 100. So we can see as we start to accumulate more data, as we start to accumulate more individuals that fall within a certain sport, sex, whether male or female, age range, we start to have an idea of kind of how our individuals are stacking up. And then that can give us some decent benchmarks in terms of when people ask, how do I compare to other individuals? We at least have an idea of how they stack up to how we, the individuals that we typically work with. And how we typically set up the test, how we queue the test, because that's going to influence the results. And then next we have our calculator here. So if I want to start just averaging, let's say I'm just taking a look at strength overall, I can put in 40, 46, and then let's go 43.5, and it's going to spit out an average for me. I can do the same thing on this side as well. And get my average there. Same thing if I want to start calculating torque to body weight ratio here, I can very easily do that. I can same thing, switch the units here in terms of pounds or kilograms here. Same thing for strength to body weight ratio. And then we have a speed calculator here. So how far they run, let's say 10 yards. How long it took them to run that, let's say 1.5, 2.5, 1. So we'll get best speed and we'll get average speed for that there. Alrighty, so for those athletes, if you need to update any sort of information, go back into their chart or their thing, very easily update some of this information here. Hopefully you find this helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and yeah, hopefully you like the dashboard.